Welcome everyone to this special edition of Fusion Talks. It's not every day we host a guest whose leadership journey hasn't only broken barriers, but reshaped the narrative of what it means to lead with both power and purpose. I'm honored to welcome someone I've known since my own days at Nestle Lebanon, a woman who has long inspired me with her brilliance, clarity, humanity, Elissar Farah Antonios. Hi, Elissar, how are you? Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Yasmin. I'm really honored first to be a part of your series, but first and foremost is to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, I truly miss you. I'm following your journey on LinkedIn, and I'm really delighted to have you today. Elissar isn't only a respected global banker and seasoned CEO. She's a proud mom, a champion of women, and an architect of systems that center people first. Her career is a rare blend: corporate legacy at highest ranks, visionary governance roles, an expanding curiosity in venture capital, and an unwavering commitment to social good. Whether in the boardroom or mentoring rising leaders, Elissar leads with integrity, empathy, and a fierce belief in that human capital is our greatest asset. With over 3 decades of excellence in international banking and governance, she made history as the first woman CEO of a leading global bank in the UAE. Her influence today spans from C-suites to classrooms, from VC boards to nonprofit causes, whether mentoring women, championing responsible investments through Soul Ventures, or guiding boards through risk and resilience. Elissar isn't just shaping decisions, she's shaping legacies. Elissar, from glass ceilings to boardrooms, what did it take to become the first female CEO of major international bank in the UAE?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to just focus on the woman aspect, but let's just talk about the, let's say, menu for success in anything we decide to do in life.
It's merits in the end.
At the end, it is merit, but you need to be very clear in terms of setting your goals, in terms of the focus to where you want to get to, and the perseverance aspect. So whether you're a woman or whether you're a female or a male. So, I think the menu to success is similar in terms of kind of the skill sets and the attributes that you need to have. But in the finance world, whether you like it or not, continues to be an industry that very much male dominant. And being the first woman to be appointed as a CEO for a major bank in the UAE, and that was actually almost a decade ago, 10 years ago. And it's great that today we have 3 females that are leading banks in the UAE. So when you're the first one, it's a bit sometimes of a double-edged sword, because you're under the scope. You actually do feel lonely in meetings.
Yeah, I hear you.
And you feel that you have that extra responsibility on your shoulder. But you also know that you are opening the door and you are making it possible for others to follow. Not because women have different skill sets. It's not about the ability to do the job, but sometimes it's about the optics of seeing someone else doing it and saying, yes, I can do it as well. So yeah, it was a very interesting journey, and I'm, super proud and happy in what I was able to achieve, and leading the way for others to be able to do the same. And it's not impossible to do, as you know, in your career as well, Yasmin.
Yes, setting the scene, paving the way, being a North Star for others to aspire to, and you made it happen. How has your leadership style evolved across decades in a male-dominant sector?
Yeah, and it has evolved actually, because when I graduated and we're talking, I hit the workforce in the late 80s, early 90s, and I started my banking career in London.
Mm.
And yes, as we just said, a male dominant industry per se, but you look around and you say, okay, who's going to be my role model? How are people behaving? And you think you need to behave as others to be accepted and to fit in, to feel that sense of fitting in. But I soon realized that's not necessarily the right path, because you tend to lose your voice in that process. So initially, whilst I was, very adamant on trying to fit in, behave as others behave, then I said, you know what? But there's a different way of getting the job done, just as good. So the outcome may be the same, but just a different way. And I started embracing that
Your
difference.
uniqueness as well.
Yes, I mean, your own voice, right? You don't have to speak with the same pitch or approach a problem the same way. Think about it, decide, what makes sense to you. And I started believing in my own voice. So I started developing my own style, if you want to say it, and started leading much more from the heart, bringing in the humanity, and I would say the humility as well. And so my leadership style totally changed from when I started. And I'd say the last decade in my corporate career, it's not
flourished.
a revelation. It's not a revelation, but I figured it out. You have to put your people first. And
Definitely.
that is the secret for success for any business.
I cannot see it otherwise. And most of the articles and studies, it is about leading with soul, leading with heart. It's not only 100% rationality without having the humanity and people centricity built in decision making.
Absolutely.
And that's what helps us to connect with teams and to mobilize them.
Absolutely.
You now serve Elissar on multiple boards. What does board level leadership need today to stay future fit? And I loved as well the last post on LinkedIn about it.
Yeah, I posted 2 days ago. When you look at when you start building your kind of your board career, it's very important. Just as when we graduate and we say, who do we want to work for, right? Who do we want to align
Start
ourselves?
acing
Yeah,
and
you start
scouting
acing and you say,
for
what does the company stand
potential
for?
customers.
What is the opportunity that they would give me? What's my learning curve, etc. Joining a board shouldn't really be any different in terms of making sure the cultural fit is there, your ability to, voice your opinion, contribute, make a change, all of that. But today, I mean, we are in a unique business environment, I would say, at this day and age, in an ever-changing environment. So to be an effective board member today, it's not only about the results of the organization. You really need to be forward-looking. And that's how you need to approach, I would say, any board meeting, understanding the business. It is your ability with your experience to help the management team, not only on day-to-day, but to be forward-looking.
To future-proof the business.
Absolutely. Because today, it's not about, show me your P&L, have we done well? It doesn't work that way anymore. We really need to be aware of the different dynamics, trends in the market, regulations,
geopolitics,
many of the topics that we're going to discuss today, and be very, very agile in that perspective. And there's a lot of work also on board members to also continuously educate themselves, because you leave the corporate world and you take a certain experience with you, but the dynamics are ever changing.
And the horizon is pretty wide.
Yeah. So today, if we talk about ESG and digitization, climate change,
supply chain, AI,
all of that, right? These are not necessarily things that, you and I kind of necessarily covered 10, 15 years ago.
True. Or groomed ourselves with. So we need to stay ahead and keep on learning.
Yeah.
So how did you embody your people-first philosophy in large, diverse organizations? It started like the awareness maybe through your first London experience, or later, but how this journey further sharpened.
Yeah. And I think the whole idea around putting people first, and I think more so in a diverse workforce that brings in different cultures, where you really need to have a good understanding of how people even assess, I would say, simple things, body language, what matters, what doesn't matter. But at the centricity of every human is for each one of us to feel respected, to feel valued, and to feel appreciated, and that there is they can see opportunities that they can progress into. And once you try to kind of address these different four elements, they will you will have their loyalty. And in general, when people change organizations or jobs, it is rarely for the money. It is rarely for the money. It is more for the opportunity, an opportunity they got that they weren't able to get where they are. It could be also for lack of alignment. They're no longer aligned with you as a leader or the organization, and it could be they're not seeing necessarily where they're getting, where the next step is. So these are part of the elements where you focus on your people and the business will take care of itself. And that's a philosophy that especially when I stepped into more leadership roles, Yasmin, that's a philosophy that I focused on, and that worked.
Can't agree more. In the end, it's all about people connection, having the empathy, the skill set to nurture teams, to groom them, to open doors for them, and to have this alignment with the compass of the culture, of the purpose, of the strategy, and to harness teams to the next level. So when we lose this, people will feel it, and then it becomes optional if they want to continue and grow or they want to seek other paths. What's the connection, Elissar, between human capital and sustainable business success?
Yeah. That story around the discussion between the CFO and the CEO. I'm sure it's something that
I think so, but remind us.
Yeah.
The different lenses.
So the CFO is arguing with the CEO in terms of kind of the money spent on training,
learning and development,
and what have you, and saying, what if they leave? And the CEO is saying, well, what if they stay? It's a bit of that. So, I mean, how do you look at the lens of human capital? It has you have to look at it as value creation and not as a cost center. That's how that's the importance of human capital.
The edge of retaining. Absolutely. Versus the levers, how much they cost the company.
That's true. But one more thing, I always used to say, your most important asset walks through the door every morning. They are your most important asset for any business. Now today we do hybrid, so whether they walk or they log in, but
they are there.
I mean, yes, exactly. And for any business to sustain, you need to make sure you're investing in that human capital. So they're correlated, provided that you are looking at them as a value creator rather than a cost.
And after COVID, I trust that most employers started to value the human capital in another lens in terms of investment. So it's not only pure knowledge, it's their physical health, mental health, family, knowing more, embracing really, us as on the humane side, so not to be taken for granted.
Yeah.
And being away, not energizing each other, checking in physically in office, it became more challenging how to to keep the culture alive,
Yeah.
and to show a reason what we are waking up for, what do we want to do in the world.
That's true. And on the topic of culture and the culture of the company, I think it's very important that you have your teams come into the office. I know in general, people are quite happy with the hybrid model. I embrace the hybrid model. I support the hybrid model. But I truly believe, in terms of the value and energy that we bring as teams when we are together, and also the impact on innovation. Because once that energy is together,
the chemistry is
different, the challenging each other is different. And I would say you are more present in the moment when you are physically rather than virtually.
When all your senses are connected.
I
It's
agree.
not just about hearing your voice, and some people sometimes put the camera off or on.
Absolutely.
It is the whole senses in motion.
Yeah.
It's a different fluidity.
And also, I would say, you waking up, I remember the days of where we all were kind of forced to go hybrid during COVID. I remember the only way I could energize myself was to wake up, get dressed, put the makeup on, brush my hair, put my scarf or whatever, and make sure that as if I'm going to
Office
the office.
simulation.
Yes, office simulation, because that kind of made me feel more alive. I think it's the same thing, when trying to bring teams together, and making sure on the cultural side and the culture of the company. It's very difficult in my opinion, it's very difficult to do that virtually. So the in-person is good.
Nothing.
I'm okay with hybrid,
but yeah, I hear you 100%. You are an advocate of youth and women. How do you measure meaningful empowerment? Many times we hear pledges, this is, an empowerer for youth or women, but how do you measure it or really walk the talk?
I think the only way to measure it is by representation, to be honest, in any community, in any business, in any initiative. Are they being heard? Are they part of the solution? Are they sharing their experiences?
Opening channels for them.
Are they opening channels? So it's not only, we go back to, it's not a tick the box exercise, right? It has to be felt, and it needs to be also visible, right?
Yes.
And with them present, outcomes change, be it on the product side, on the offering side, or whatever that company or corporation is trying to do. At the end of the day, they are a large percentage of your customer base, irrespective, whether you're in FMCG or in financial services, they are part of your customer base. So how do you make sure that you are actually providing solutions for their needs if they're not represented? So with that, if you want to measure empowerment, if you are, if you visibly also seeing them participate.
And also I see you supporting a lot of entrepreneurs as being judged in panels, be it even in hackathons, how you grant advice. So there are many touch points where you can as well engage, make a difference. Sometimes few words can shift the mindset.
Of course.
And all of this is highly valuable and needed to give accessibility to
through mentorships, or being part of whatever panels or certain events where you're trying to also support and share your experiences. And one of the things that I've realized also, Yasmin, is when you are present in such an environment, talking to younger generations, or let's say female founders, and they see you as a senior accomplished person, also that kind of a vision of what could leadership be, or where they can attain, the role modeling is also important. So it's important that we also participate.
We are there. It's
forums.
Not a gap, and seniority, it's not a control tower. It is about blending with society.
Yeah, and being part of it.
Exactly. We are part of it. We all make it. I'm very interested to tap into the governance, risk, and guts around this theme. And with your QRD, and if you can as well inform us what is the QRD designation and board experience, how should companies integrate ESG and risk resilience today?
Yeah.
This is very heated topic.
So let me start by what QRD stands for. It's a Qualified Risk Director that I attained from the DCRO Institute. And it basically means it's a designation that gives you kind of that recognition that you understand various risk parameters and you are able to govern and manage. So it's a bit like a CFA or a CPA, but it's on the risk spectrum. So it's something that I post my corporate roles. I said it's important to have this designation for further qualifications as an independent board member. When it comes to the governance bit and the topics around ESG and meeting regulations, and there's a very interesting book that I read, and actually as I was driving here, I said I wish I got it for Yasmin. I don't know if you've read it or not. It's the title of the book is Sustainable Sustainability. And it's written by the CEO of Stewardship Asia, which is a think tank by Temasek, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Singapore. The author is Rajiv. I'm missing the surname, but I'll get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to send it to you. Because he says ESG, and I truly, when I read the book, my perspective also changed, Yasmin. He says ESG is not enough. So for companies to look at regulations and to do ESG reporting as part of compliance and regulations,
it's not a compliance tick box.
Exactly.
Only.
It is not a compliance tick box. And he says for this to really work is to add an L to it. So ESG and L, where L stands for leadership and the right leadership. So the leadership that embodies and believes in E on its own, S on its own, and G on its own.
Business for the force for good.
Exactly. And it's not just, let's do this report, it's a requirement or whatever.
It's not APR, and it's not only about the report.
Exactly. And it's about the sustainability of the business. And it's not only about the return on investment, but what legacy are you leaving also behind you? So on the governance side, when it comes to all of these very relevant and important topics, is for board members to probe, to ask the difficult questions, and not just to read the report. So often you're in a board meeting and you get
interpretation
you
of
get
the content.
Or you say, we've produced this report, we did this, and these are great, bravo, it's all done, we're compliant. Ask the difficult questions. So all the way through the entire supply chain, not only about your shareholders, but your entire stakeholders as well. Are you, for example, when it comes to your vendors, are you asking the question in terms of their labor contracts?
Responsible practices.
Community impact. How far are you going? And as a board member, whilst it's not possible for you to know all of this information, but ask the questions. So just having an ESG committee is not enough. It's going that step forward. And that book, which I will send you, I love the way Rajiv focuses on the L, the leadership, and the many examples and case studies, because they've looked at more than 500 companies. So I think it's one that you would enjoy, Yasmin.
I'm so interested. Today as well, I read a repost about the sustain bubble, where sometimes many people, they upload the jargon without really understanding. And it becomes even boards like echo chamber.
Yeah.
And we want the hard questions. We want to dig deep. We don't want to take the face value and take things for granted that the box is ticked, we're compliant, and many times no one is really skimming the right meaning and dive deep to uncover the truth in value chains, with suppliers, with customers, employees, indigenous communities, etc., etc.
And if I may add, Yasmin, because you asked questions around the governance on boards, it is also important to have certain subject matter expertise on the board, because it's very difficult for us to know everything. So when a company is forming its board, and we talk about the importance of the diversity of perspectives and also the diversity of the skill sets, to make sure that knowledge comes.
It has a seat.
Exactly, able to govern properly. If I don't understand something,
how can I be accountable as well?
Exactly. And it's very difficult for you to understand everything. If I'm a financial expert, I don't know. I mean, I can read about digital transformation and have an opinion, but am I the expert? Am I asking those hard technical questions? In all likeliness, it's difficult for me to ask those questions because I don't have the knowledge. But depending on the profile of the company, how important is it to have a digital native on the board? So these are things that are important when one is forming their board, is to make sure you have the relevant skill sets and the diversity of perspectives to have an effective governance on the board.
Yeah, cognitive diversity and skills diversity.
Correct. Yeah.
And the courage as well to dare to ask and look ahead.
But the role of the chair is very important. The role of the chair of that board is also very important. So we go back to that article I posted 2 days ago in terms of how do you choose the board. Is as you are choosing your board, make sure you will be able to voice your opinion, because there are certain boards where depending on how the chair also leads the board, whether your opinion, you'll have that opportunity to voice that opinion or not. So these are the role of the chair is very important also in having effective governance.
Excellent. Are boards brave enough, capitalizing on this as a follow-on question, to challenge greenwashing and lead a just transition?
Yeah. Some are. Some aren't. Yeah, I mean, some boards are brave and others.
Not everything is perfect.
Exactly, but I would say that is even more where the role of the chair is important. Because if you have the chair that where he or she has the full buy-in, then I would say yes.
To be intentionally legit and correct instead of intentionally politically correct.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
What role do you see for board members in enabling ethical innovation? We all want to, embrace innovation, ride the wave of AI, but how we can ensure it's really for the ethical drives?
Yeah, and I would say it's by asking the difficult questions.
So again, it's about being vocal,
asking
and not
the difficult
tamed.
questions, and also understanding the data and understanding who's writing those models, right?
And validating the data, not only
exactly.
It might be misleading information.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we've all tested with different AI tools in terms of what answers you get.
Not hallucination.
Yeah, no, and especially I would say, Yasmin, on some sensitive topics, or
even company data needs to be assured before releasing reports.
That's
so
right.
This again, back to quality, back to pragmatism, not eliminating subjectivity,
and back to who's writing those models.
Yes,
also, right?
Yeah,
so I mean, as we say, jargon in, jargon out, right?
Right.
So you want to make sure on the ethical side, then you want to ask those very difficult questions. If we are today in the company using a specific tool, where did it come from? Where was it validated? Is it in a regulated market? You have to ask these questions and not just accept it as it is.
Driven by curiosity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you view the role of emerging technologies, especially AI, in advancing good governance and sustainability outcomes? Can AI be a force for good in the boardroom?
I think it can, definitely. I don't see it, I see it as a
enabler?
I see it as an enabler, absolutely. But we go back to making sure of the source and of the data, and on where are these AI tools developed.
Yeah, so it will be.
I think all of these.
The culture will play a role.
Exactly.
Is it cooked in China or Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Or
world
views will differ.
Exactly, and I'm not saying one is better than the other, but just to say that I see them definitely as I see it as an enabling tool for sure, and something we need to embrace.
Augmentation as well to our capabilities.
Correct.
And capacities.
And I think there are tools that can be excellent in terms of risk management, crisis management. Many other tools that can enable decision making. But the important question is, who making sure of the source and asking those difficult questions to understand how these AI tools are operating.
And to help us extract the right insights. In the end, all of this data powered by AI will help us to do more informed decisions. But we need as well our gut instinct and wisdom, the human wisdom, to make the best out of it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with
without
you.
eliminating the human in the
no. And I'm of the view, I mean, some may agree or may disagree with me, that AI is not here to replace people, but we need to, there's new skill sets that we need to acquire also. Because if we're only to think that we're eliminating jobs, and you look at all of the evolution and industrial revolutions that came before, this day and age where you and I are talking, then you and I may not be here actually, right? So it's making sure with, that innovation and change, that you're making sure you're investing in the right skill sets to remain relevant. And today,
to evolve. It's continuous excellence of learning and evolution.
Yeah, and today who developed AI?
The human beings.
Exactly.
I'm interested to dive into capital with consciousness. So tell us about Soul Ventures. What defines impactful investments in your view? And this is your baby?
It's my baby. It's my baby that, thank you. So I've always, as you think about the impact that you leave, and what you want to be remembered for, it's beyond your title or what you have achieved. So I really want people to remember me for what I was able to impact beyond just the job title. And so on Soul Ventures, when we thought about Soul Ventures, and it's really it's our own baby as a family as well. Yes, there are many investment opportunities out there, and we said, well, yes, the focus is your ROI, your return on investment, but we wanted to focus a little bit more on the return on legacy that you kind of leave behind, and that human element and social aspect of it.
Which is not necessarily immediate, because you're seeding
exactly. So you
change.
So you have to take that a bit of a longer view, but knowing that whatever investment you do, it's not and the other thing, this is not charity.
Not philanthropy.
This is not philanthropy. No, This is actual investment in operating businesses or ideas that are being developed, right? But that have a certain impact, and a social impact, a people impact, and an innovation impact that will, enable things around financial inclusion means a lot to me, to us as a family,
yes.
as well as equal opportunities. So that is the lens and that's why we looked at soul as an SOUL, to make sure that there's always that focus on nurturing the soul and
people first.
Yes.
Who where the positive spillover touches the people community through those investments that are, I think, seeded with heart and soul.
Exactly. And we're we're also excited about opportunities, and we've invested in one opportunity where the founder of this company pledged a certain return of the revenues to causes that are aligned with ours. So it's that that alignment, right? Which makes a big difference, I think.
It will. And it's different. It's not only about, a green investment. You have the vision and you're setting this path
in
to
a small
to
scale,
achieve.
Yasmin, but
But we start with baby steps, full of faith.
Yeah.
And
I always say, and we're living in a complex world, and
not utopia.
Yeah, and everything that's going around us, and we're sitting here in the Middle East as well, and there's I'm a true believer that it's difficult for me to change the world, but if each one of us does that bit, maybe we add up.
The aggregate makes a difference.
Exactly, and you'll have that positive ripple effect.
I need to do an intervention as well before saying, like, away from corporate world, how you want to be remembered as a legacy. I've always admired that even at the peak of your corporate, job or career, you've always started your title with mom.
Yes.
And honestly, you have already two gems who are your legacy. And creating impact in their circle. And now all together, you're blending your soul and your minds in this melting pot of soul ventures.
Thank you, Yasmin. We're both mothers, and I know that we share the same passion around empowering our kids and
to be good humans.
And hoping that we are the right role models also for them. But yeah, I mean, if you can be a successful mom, that's already an achievement.
Exactly.
I don't think we celebrate enough. We celebrate enough. Yeah.
Silent soldiers.
Yeah.
How do we unlock more green finance and gender lens investing in MENA?
It's not an easy one, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not an easy one.
But why?
But a couple of things. I'd say regulation, whether regulation would help, having the right regulations would also help. Although we don't want that ticking the box exercise, but regulations are important also. So that's one, I would say. Two, I would say having the right data to share also that right data. I think maybe some of these projects happen, but they're not talked about. They're not highlighted. The stories are not necessarily shared.
Or there's still skepticism when it comes to green projects.
I agree. And there is skepticism. And I think recently, at least, with the whole EU taxonomy, I mean, we've seen a number of major companies kind of pause also, right?
Yeah, true. Unfortunately,
right? But this is also
the reality.
But when we come back to the MENA perspective, and especially in terms of kind of the availability of capital, maybe for women-led businesses, it's also about making sure that there's that network is also available to support, and also that women are also developing the network, which whether we like it or not, they are not as well networked as
Not
men
yet
founders.
under the
Yes,
spotlight.
exactly. But I'd say we're sitting in the UAE where there's also a lot of focus on that, be it on a government, sovereign level. The awareness is there and the focus is there. So from that perspective, I think we're a little bit privileged vis-a-vis the West, I would say.
Yes,
honestly.
Yes, we're leading the way in many things.
I agree.
And this is connected again on an observation also supported by data that female entrepreneurs, they're not as well still receiving the same momentum and belief from investors to be able to secure Series A or seats in terms of capital. So what's your advice to female investors or founders?
Yeah. And that's absolutely true, not only in our
It is
region,
happening
but also
everywhere, globally.
So I think the figure globally,
less than 2%?
Maybe 2.3 or something around that. That goes
a
into,
bit.
Yeah, so it's very, very mediocre, I would say.
Is it bias?
I think some of it is biased. Maybe we also, not maybe, I mean, we don't have as many female founders as well as male founders. That is also factual.
Okay.
But my advice to those female founders is, when they come to pitch, I mean, you need to think, who are you pitching for? Who's your investor community? Today, even on the investor community side, Yasmin, it's much more male dominant than female dominant. Especially, I would say, in the startup space. And even if the wealth is a female wealth, who's managing her wealth? In general, you see, an investment advisor or a family office where, the majority of the investment committee are also male. So the decision maker still sits in the male kind of mind framework. So I would say, for female founders, when they are pitching, kind of put that mindset of how your investor likes to receive the pitch. So in general, it's being super bold and assertive, to come across as such when you are pitching, to deal, unfortunately, with that bias that exists. And we keep saying unconscious. I'm tired of saying unconscious. It's a bit conscious sometimes.
It's conscious.
But it's
gender sensors.
Yeah. So I would say, to kind of just to be a little bit more, I would say, assertive when you are pitching, because thinking about who your investor community is. But I mean, overall, we still see less female-led startups than male.
There's a huge opportunity out there to expand the pie of female founders.
I think so, especially when you're talking about certain solutions that are,
relevant and can
to
scale, make a difference.
Yeah.
I want us to navigate through governance for good, embedding equity responsibility on boards. So, Elissar, how can boards today ensure responsible value chain oversight, and they can embed sustainability into procurement, operations? So the value chain, or scope 3, this is the most complicated.
Yeah. And I think we mentioned it earlier. It's to be, for a board to be less focused on the financial results and about the shareholder,
and look at the stakeholder.
And asking all the questions. I mean, we mentioned some of them in terms of, I don't know, what are the labor contracts that are out there, right? I mean, these are the nitty-gritty that a board should get into to ensure that sustainability. And I mean, a lot of the trainings today, and I encourage people to go on those trainings, even if they are experienced board members, is how do you make sure you're not missing any of the gaps out there by asking the right questions and probing and not shying away from asking those questions.
Even if the externalities are negative, we need to
Yeah.
dare to put them on the table, talk about the elephant in the room.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it will become bigger and bigger, and there's the reputational risk or other damages that can.
And especially, Yasmin, for
snowball.
global businesses operating in multi-jurisdictions, and when you have also a diverse workforce as well, when your production is in a certain jurisdiction. I mean, all these right questions. I mean, if you want to, because the reputational risk could be
damaging,
super damaging, right?
Yes.
Just because of an oversight, maybe you're not really asking the right question about your production in this country,
child labor,
or
water
exactly.
exploitation.
Exactly. So these are it's very and for that, a board member really needs to understand the business.
صح. The S in ESG is often underemphasized. How can stakeholder inclusivity be mainstreamed? So it is an advice recommendation, but how really to mainstream it in decision making? Or is the S taken care of, but we need the L from the book?
I think when we talk about the S, it's very important that the S is not confused with the CSR initiative of the organization. Because, I mean, often companies say, oh, we have a team focused on CSR. They're two distinct things, right? So I think it's important to understand the difference. And again, we say from a governance perspective is to probe and ask the right questions as well.
What is occasional and what is sustainable?
Exactly.
For more futuristic approach.
Agree.
Let's dive into legacy, leadership, and lifelong learning. With global recognition and executive education from Harvard to Stanford, what keeps you learning, Elissar?
I'm a true believer in continuous learning. I think learning never stops, to be honest. And
it nourishes us.
And plus, I mean, you want to stay relevant.
And widen our lens.
I mean, just to widen the lens for sure, but to be relevant also, because it's, as we just mentioned before, we're in a very dynamic, changing environment. Like, I mean, you sleep, you wake up, there's some new innovation out there, and you're like, okay, I feel like
we need just time to keep reading and digesting what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it's great oxygen for the mind, for the heart, for the health,
and fulfillment,
and fulfillment. So for me, learning should never stop, and for me, it didn't stop. So I always find new things that I need to kind of understand better or different or what have you. So despite my 3 decades in banking and finance, as soon as I kind of pivoted to my next chapter in terms of building my portfolio career, I said I need to understand better venture capital and private equity, and because I just wanted to be a better informed investor also.
And you invest in yourself.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of broaden my horizon and my understanding of things, and with that program that I did in Colombia, it gave me the opportunity of choosing certain electives. So I took things like the future of finance and value investing and governance, and it's just
and it broadens your network.
There you go.
You meet amazing professors, like-minded professionals,
and sometimes you say, you know what, you meet one person here, you say, okay, maybe we'll end up by doing so. From that program, just to tell you, now we're creating a cohort, a global cohort
Wonderful.
of investors. So would I have done that if I had not done that program?
Exactly. It's a domino effect,
it's a domino
of
effect.
Opportunities.
Absolutely.
That starts from within and then to the wider.
And for me, it's always been a passion for me to see how do I add value to the region I'm from, which is this region, and how do I bring best practices. So today we're in an environment in the region where kind of the whole startup ecosystem is very buoyant, and there's so many amazing opportunities that are coming.
Appetite for innovation.
Exactly. So how can I educate myself to add better value? So continuous education is key for anybody, whether you're still in the workforce, not in the workforce, whether you take it by reading a book or virtually,
exactly,
or whatever. But it's it keeps me going,
and we become better
and I feel younger when I do that.
Better version of ourselves. Exactly. Truly.
Yeah.
How do you want your legacy to be remembered as CEO, even of Soul Venture, mother, a mentor?
I think I don't want to be remembered for my titles. I want to be remembered for how I make people feel. I want to be remembered if I'm a mentor. I want to be remembered that I made a difference to their lives, that I've helped the person, the people around me that worked with me or where I mentored them make a difference. Maybe as a mother, I want to be remembered that we're leaving a better world and better opportunities for our children than when we kind of started. And maybe one thing, and that's why I lead by mother experience CEO, blah, 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 is that strength and emotions are not exclusive. They can go hand in hand together.
Yeah.
That you can be a softie, but you can be also very strong.
Trailblazer with a big
heart. It's okay to lead with the heart. It's okay to lead with the heart.
This is the right thing.
And I think it's while we speak a lot about role models, and I think I'd like to be remembered as someone that kind of paved the way for others to follow. And that I'm someone that always dropped the ladder for someone else to climb. Also, wasn't also about your own success. So I hope I'll be remembered for that.
Of course, you speak it. I know this is emotional when we reflect and think how we want others to talk about us, to remember us, and it is about touching lives. And I've seen how your eyes were beaming differently when you were talking about it. So yeah, it resonates and it touches as well my heart. What would you tell your 30-year-old self stepping into her first leadership role, or maybe younger?
Yeah.
Or advice to your daughter?
I would say I would tell my younger self, embrace your difference. It's okay to have your own voice.
Your own mold of everything.
It's not about fitting in.
About standing out.
Yes. And making a difference. And I think all of us, when we started our career, we kind of struggled with that, because maybe we saw things that didn't necessarily resonate with us or speak the same language. And it took us courage to allow ourselves to have our own voice.
But it sculptured us.
Yeah.
When I first worked abroad as well, I felt, yes, it's so different, but it made me who I am today, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
So stepping out from our comfort zone, it's not easy, but I owe it to who I am today. It sculptured me. So swimming in a sea of various cultures and backgrounds help us as well to understand ourselves more, how to stand up for ourselves better, rather than having people nodding always, because we are so in tune culturally and mentally, and then so we cut through, we learn how to cut through, but it's easier said than done.
Easier said than done. I want to share with you one now. Something that that happened in my career, and as we as we spoke, there are many roles where I was that first woman stepping into that role. So when you're in a diverse, very large team, there's always that image in people's mind, or people around you, be it your peers or people more senior, or even kind of the junior, more junior than you, of how a specific role is expected to behave. And suddenly you come with a different approach. And that different approach, in my case, at times was perceived as a weakness. Why? Because you're, depending on your leadership
style,
your leadership style. So if you're more empathetic or collaborative, let's say I say, okay, so Yasmin, what do you think
especially
about
in a male dominant
or what do you think? Let's all be aligned, and could be seen lack of assertivity are not as. So there's also that, that perception that people start
and the branding
building.
Yeah.
But today, what do we talk about? All the studies, what do we talk about? What do we talk about? The most important leadership style is empathetic leaders.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, so, that also, this is what I meant by, it's okay to have your own voice and your own style, as long as you're getting the results done. And I think that's the one thing.
Exactly.
Back to my, when I was 30.
It takes time for common sense to be framed.
Yeah.
So let's move to the exciting part.
There we go.
The fire questions. One word that defines your leadership.
I just said it. Empathy. I think empathy is my
thumbs up.
Yeah.
What's the boldest decision you ever took?
I think getting out of my comfort zone. You mentioned that also, Yasmin.
Yes.
I think you've experienced that.
Yes.
I think
big
that was,
time.
From a career perspective, that was.
I'm so grateful. Yeah. One boardroom trend that excites you.
I think there's actually a few that excites me, but I think the focus on the diversity, and we're not only speaking gender, but diversity of perspectives.
Yes.
And recruiting board members for, I say that, I'm laughing now, for what they know and not who they know.
Absolutely. Especially, I think, maybe in the Middle East is more relevant than other cultures
I think
or
territories. Everywhere. I think it happens everywhere. But I think,
what we know and how we apply it.
Exactly.
It's very important.
But we know that a lot of appointments happen because of who knows who.
Affinities and rapport.
Yeah.
One cultural shift that gives you hope.
I would say, I know you have also children, and so do I. Mine are in the workforce now, but it's how they think about impacting the world. I feel this generation is, yes, focused on being successful, but they're very focused, at least that's what I see, in terms of what they leave behind them, much more than the older generation.
And in selecting employers who have this vision.
I think the values,
it's high on their agenda.
It's really high on their agenda.
And choices.
So, when you interview today, you get asked so many
You're
questions.
Interviewed more than
because they're trying to figure out, am I aligned with this organization? How do you give back, and all of these very important things, where in the past it was a different it was very capitalist in the approach.
Yeah. A woman leader that inspires you.
Oh,
you inspire many. And
thank you. Well, it depends. As a mother, it's my mother, who's given her all to us. her wisdom, who really,
Love.
her love, her what do you say?
Selflessness.
Selflessness, her selflessness.
Unconditional
Yes,
love.
her unconditional love. I think she's my role model as a mother.
And I believe you being raised on this, it helped you as well to spill over and create this empathy and beautiful leadership with your team, because abundance and love gives us security to share,
Yeah,
to care, to uplift.
I agree, Yasmin, and I must say her wisdom, my mom's wisdom, spread beyond just our family. So so her impact was beyond that. But as far as another, let's say, female public figure that I really look up to, and not because we are sitting today in the United Arab Emirates, and not because I grew up in Abu Dhabi, but it's Sheikha Fatima bint Mubarak, the mother of the nation. Because beyond, the whole trend today around the focus on women, she was quite a pioneer in putting women in the UAE at the forefront of society as well. She has a very famous, saying around the importance of the role of women as a foundation to society. So if you empower them, you actually empower the entire nation. And she was always at the forefront of putting women at the center, and had led many initiatives beyond it becoming kind of the latest trend. So she's someone I truly look up to. Business perspective, let me tell you on the business side. On the business side, I look up to Indra Nooyi, the former CEO of Pepsi.
Okay.
And why? Because she was amazing in terms of transforming and driving performance, but leading with the heart. So she's really someone, even today, post her corporate career, I follow on her master classes, and many, if you listen to a lot of her interviews, she's actually, in my opinion, changed the face of women leaders.
And very genuine and spontaneous and natural, and cracks a joke while advising
approachable, transformational,
and
result
doesn't
driven.
show you as if things are always perfect.
And
so
in every discussion, she would bring in her husband and her children.
so you relate,
Yes.
know.
So it's like great, So to me, she was an inspiration to me as well.
I love those, references. Spot on. Final message to women carving their space in finance, sustainability, and beyond.
Yeah, I would say be bold, believe in yourself, in your capabilities, and don't be afraid of having your own voice. And as you climb that ladder, pull someone along the way. And when you get there, drop the ladder. Yeah.
Wonderful, Elissar. It was a session full of insights, genuine advice from the heart, powerful insights, and heart-centered wisdom. I think it is your signature. So it's never enough to unpack more from your wealth of experience. Such a pleasure to have you, to have Fusion Talks with Elissar. I invite our audience to follow us, subscribe, and listen to all the episodes of Fusion Talks, and let's keep it rolling. Have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Yasmin, for this invitation, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I look forward to the impact that you guys are doing as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.